Welcome back, motocross fans, to RotoX Fantasy. My name is Donnie, and on this episode, we're going to break down the PulpMX Fantasy results of our first Triple Crown round of 2020 that took place last night at Glendale. Ken Roczen went with a full 1-1-1 sweep, and Austin Forkner took 2 of the first 3 mains. But we're actually going to break down the stats and info from a fantasy perspective. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you could, like the video and leave a comment below and let me know what score you got this weekend at Glendale. We run our own league on PulpMX Fantasy. It is called RotoX Fantasy. Link in the description if you want to join the league and play alongside us. Without further ado, let's get to some of the stats. This weekend in Glendale, we had 5,218 players fill out their roster for the Championship League. That is the paid league, the $20 league that you paid for. We had 12,379 combined total players. Both of those numbers are sharply down from last week. We actually lost 13% of our championship players from A2 to Glendale. Hopefully those are not players that lost interest in the game, and hopefully they'll be back next week. Of the 15 All-Stars that lined up to qualify today, 10 of them had the maximum score of 26 points. Of the 29 other riders that qualified for the Triple Crown main event, 19 of them scored double points, which means that roughly 2 out of every 3 riders that lined up this weekend had scored 26 points or more, which is pretty forgiving. If you scored more than 202, then you scored better than half of the other members in the Championship League. The perfect score, however, was down to only 250 from 270 last week. This is not uncommon in a Triple Crown round. With everybody guaranteed to get 8 men in the main, it's obviously much easier to get a respectable score. When I left you on Thursday, these were the riders that I had on my team. I had Forkner, Oldenburg, Clout, and Lieb for the 250s. I had Webb, Baggett, Wilson, and Ryan Brees for the 450s. If you would have picked the team that I suggested to you, that would have gotten you 196 points, which would have been slightly below average. But also, I did recommend Austin Forkner and Ken Roczen for your FFLs. And if you picked those 2 guys, you would have got a cool 30 points, which would have brought you up to 226. Before locking in the picks, however, I did make a couple little tweaks to my team. I actually dropped Luke Clout in favor of Martin Costello. Clout had revealed on Race Day Live that he had a crash at press day and was a little bit sore, so I wanted to shy away from him a little bit. Picking Martin Costello actually netted me a bonus 6 points. However, I did tinker a little bit on my 450s as well. When Jerry Robin made the main at a 13 handicap, I thought there is no safer pick than Jerry. He's going to bare minimum get you 28 points, and guess what? That's exactly what he did. So I actually lost 6 points on Ryan Brees switching to Jerry, so I still got 226, no matter how you cut it. Moving on to our most picked team, the highest pick trend went to Austin Forkner and Cooper Webb as the All-Stars. The highest non-All-Star pick trends were Michael Lieb, Derek Drake, Christian Craig, Blake Baggett, Jerry Robin, and Chris Blos. If you had went with the most common team, that would have gotten you 188 points. Unfortunately, I don't have any information for what were the most picked first to the finish lines. Because of the red flags, Marks had to go in and manually edit the first to the finish line, so it just shows a 0 where it should tell you how many people got the FFLs right. However, I would assume that Austin Forkner was the most common picked FFL in the 250s. So if you would have taken him, that would have given you 203 points. I'm not going to speculate who would have been the highest 450 FFL, however, as I feel like there were many good options in that class. If you would have picked a perfect team, which it looks like nobody did this week, that would have consisted of any of 5 All-Stars from each coast. That we actually had 10 All-Stars get maximum points this week. Oldenburg had a 34, Costello had 32, Derek Drake also had 32, Martin Davalos and Ryan Brees both had 34, with Aaron Plessinger having a 32. I actually had a friendly debate with somebody in the PulpMX chat yesterday saying that Plessinger's handicap was much, much too low at a 2, and he should have been, and I quote, an 8 handicap. Yes, Aaron Plessinger, factory Yamaha rider, 1 year removed from a Supercross and outdoor 250 title, should be an 8 handicap. Obviously not. He still scored 32 points, was the 3rd highest score in the 450 class. But if you would have picked that perfect team, that would have netted you 250 points, add in 2 first to the finish lines, and 280 was the perfect score this weekend. As I mentioned before, there were 10 All-Stars that scored that illustrious 26 points. We had Forkner, Hayes, Ferrandis, Hartrampt, and Mosman for the 250s. 350s, Webb, Malcolm, Eli Tomac, Ken Roxon, and Jason Anderson for the 450s. Interesting fact about All-Stars this year, the average team had a little over 3 All-Stars on their team this year, and that's a trend that looks like it's continued throughout the season. I don't know what it is about this year. I don't know if it's because of the tighter handicaps, but it seems like way more people are picking 2 All-Stars or more per class this year. I don't hate the strategy, especially if you're playing it conservative for the entire championship. However, at a Triple Crown round, I think this is the one time when you should bank and cash in on those higher handicap guys. Let's go over the scatter graph to show you the pulp points versus the pick trend here. No surpriser, Austin Forkner and Cooper Webb were the most picked All-Stars. They were the most picked riders in the entire series. They both maxed out at 26 points. Martin Davalos and Mitchell Oldenburg were the highest scoring of their respective classes. The big miss, everybody slept on Aaron Plessinger with his 32 points. He only had a 5% pick trend. And then obviously the biggest hurt this week went again to Christian Craig, 2 weeks in a row. He had the highest pick trend and lowest points. However, I would just like to point out that you may have noticed those little black dots in the bottom corner. 19% total pick trend for guys that were not in the main events. That is unacceptable. I don't even know what you guys are doing. I hope nobody watching this video picked any of those guys. Jet Lawrence with a broken collarbone had a 2% pick trend. Cameron McAdoo, who has not even raced since A1, had a 3% pick trend. I seriously feel like these people have to be trolling. They have to be sabotaging themselves just for the lulz of it, for the memes. I just don't understand how this could be possible. Check qualifying results, please. I post up a cheat sheet on Twitter and Instagram every week as soon as qualifying's over that shows you everybody that is racing, everybody that's made the top 40, what their handicaps are, what their qualifying results are. There's no excuses for you guys. Make sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram if you don't already so that you have that information. Please, please, please check with us. Ask questions, it's okay. We're all here to help each other. I know it's a competition, but if you're already watching this, then you already know that, then you're already down to help and be helped by someone. Another rider that had a pick trend above 0 that did not race the night show was Benny Bloss. 4% of people picked Benny Bloss, and he had a huge get off in the first qualifying session. He only put down one hot lap. He qualified 32nd, didn't show up for the LCQ. Again, I just don't understand how guys are picking these riders that are not even racing the night. In our RotoX League, the highest scorer of the week was Depran. Depran had 264 points. He was ranked 22nd in the entire league. Hats off to Depran. I didn't have a lot of faith in Carson Brown or Derek Drake. He nailed both of those guys for 32 points and a familiar face at top of the overall leaderboard. Tank Slap actually took the lead from Enamel this week. He has a slim 3-point lead over Enamel, and they both hold a 30-point lead over Depran and Cook. And shout out to Stacy126 rounding out the top 5 with a 939. Moving into the next week in Oakland, we are going to have 2 All-Star Changes. Justin Brayton will become an All-Star, and Zach Osborne will now be eligible for double points after Osborne's bad finish at Glendale. I think he wrecked every single gate drop. I don't know what happened to Zacho, man. I hope he's able to race next week. That guy is going to be sore this morning. Also, Mitchell Oldenburg is now an All-Star. I hope you were able to capitalize on his points this week because I feel like Mitch is probably going to be an All-Star for the rest of the season. Obviously, that's due to Jet Lawrence dropping out as Jet recovers from his collarbone. I saw in a video he released recently, he's looking at a 4 to 6 week recovery time before he can even get back on a bike. I hope we get him back for the later rounds, but at this point, I'm not even sure unless he has an astronomically high handicap that I would be picking him later this season. Next week in Oakland could actually be a crazy one. The forecast in California looks wet, so I'm not saying expect a mutter, but don't be surprised if we have one. Obviously, if the forecast looks like it's going to stay the same, then we'll go over some of the guys that are good in mud when we release our video later in the week. Again, let me know in the comments how you like these videos, these recap videos for fantasy. They're a lot of fun to make, but obviously I'm going to try to get them out as quick as possible as soon as the race is over. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram for the latest up to the minute. And also now on Facebook, I actually went ahead and made a Facebook page on Friday. So if you prefer Facebook or if your friends prefer Facebook and you want to share it with them, be sure to follow us at RotoX Fantasy. It's the same on all 4 platforms, including YouTube. I'm going to speak with the guys and rearrange my schedule and see if there isn't a chance that I can get the preview video out to you earlier. I know when Friday comes, I wake up and I'm literally throwing it together as fast as humanly possible so that you guys have that information to digest. Let me know how you feel about that. Also, what do you guys think about a podcast supplement? There's a lot of podcasts already in the moto space. There's only one real fantasy podcast out there. That's the official Pulp Guys. I'd like to maybe do a podcast where we talk to some of the writers, some of the players, some of the industry guys about how they feel fantasy has grown the sport. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see, and I'll definitely see if I can work that into the schedule. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. This wouldn't be possible without you. If any of you are interested in supporting the channel, I'm actually working on some merchandise. I obviously do this 100% for free, so if you guys want to support, I look out for the links for that coming soon. And if you have any suggestions of some content that you would like to see on this channel or on Twitter or Instagram, definitely let me know. Drop a comment below, hit me up through messages on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll see what we can get worked out. Until next time, may your chiz is chiz and your Jerry's not always Jerry. Take care. Thanks for watching.